This is Mrs. Naslund, and today we'll be doing Unit 11, Lesson 4, Relate Whole Numbers and Decimals. Our learning target for today is I can read, write, model, and compare decimal numbers. All right, to get started, we're going to look at these mixed numbers, and we're going to figure out how to write them as a decimal. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the number here. In this case, I have 3 1/10. So 3 is a whole number, okay? So 3 is going to come before the decimal. And then I have 1/10, and I'm going to make that the decimal part. So I'm going to start with the 1/10 part. And again, our trick is to go ahead and write that first number. So I'm going to write 1. And then I count my zeros. In this case, there's 1 0, so I'm going to move over 1 spot. So I know my decimal goes right there. Now, I'm going to look at the number of wholes I have. In this case, I have 3. So my decimal number will look like 3 1/10. All right, let's try this next one. 5 7/100. Again, I know I have 5 as my whole number, so that's going to go on the left side of the decimal. And then I have 7/100. So again, I'm going to count my zeros. I know I'm going to have to move over 2 spots. I'm going to write my 7. And then I'm going to count, I've got 2 zeros. So I'm going to go 1, 2. So I need something here. And I'm going to put a 0 to fill that spot in. So let's try 1, 2. So now I can say I have 5 7/100. Okay. All right, let's try one more together. This one is 2 46/100. Again, I'm going to write my 46. I'm going to count my zeros. It's hundredths, so I've got 2 zeros. I'm going to move it over 2 spots. 1, 2. And then I add my whole number. In this case, I have a 2. So I have 2 46/100. All right, on your whiteboard, go ahead and try this one on your own. 28 9/10. All right, let's see what you got. So I'm going to write my 9 first. And then it's tenths. I have 1 0, so I'm going to go over 1 spot and add my decimal point. And then I have 28 as my whole number. So I'm going to make sure and add that up in the front. So I have 28 9/10. All right, great work. Let's go ahead and work on these ones. Now it says write each decimal as a mixed number. So now we're just going to do it backwards. Okay, I'm going to look and I say, oh, 12 and 8, and I know that place value is tenths. So I'm going to write 12 as my whole number in my fraction. And I know that this 8 is in the tenth spot, which makes it really easy. I'm going to put that on the top of the fraction. And since it's in the tenth spot, tenths, I got to write 10 down here. All right. Let's try this one. 3 5, and I know that's tenths, and it's hundredths. So it's 3 5/100. So again, my whole number is 3. It's on the left side of the decimal. And I have 5 hundredths. So I'm going to put a 5. And since it's in the hundredth spot, my bottom number is going to be, you got it, 100. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and try this one on your own. 4 85/100. Go ahead and write that out. And you end up with 4. We know it's in the hundredth spot, so I'm going to put 85 on the top. And then underneath it, the bottom of my fraction is going to be hundreds because it's in that hundredth spot. All right, great job. All right, now let's go down here. It says write a decimal for each word name. So I have to read it really carefully. And I'm looking at the ending. Remember the tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Those are on the right of the decimal. If it would have been tens or hundreds, then I know it's going to be on the left side. Or if it doesn't say anything. So we'll find some examples here. So 61 hundredths. So I know that it ends in hundredths. So I'm going to write 61. And if it's hundredths, I know 100 has 2 zeros. So I'm going to go 1, 2 over. So we've got 61 hundredths. about this one? 12. 6 and 14 hundredths. Now, 6 is by itself, so that's going to be my whole number. So I'm going to write 6 first, and then I'm going to do my 14 hundredths. So again, I know it's going to end in the hundredth spot. There's 2 zeros in there. So if I write 14, now my 1's in the tenths and my 4's in the hundredths, and that's where it ends. So we have 6 and 14 hundredths. And that's how we'd write it out. Okay, let's try another one. 70 and 8 tenths. 70 and 8 tenths. So I know my whole number is 70. And if I'm thinking it as a fraction, it's 8 over 10, right? That's what the fraction would be, but I want to write it in decimals. And I know the tenth spot is right next to my decimal here. So I have 70 and 8 tenths. What about this one? Go ahead and try this one on your whiteboard. 55 and 6 hundredths. So go ahead and write that out. Let's see how we do. All right, 55. And now we have 6 hundredths. So I know this is the tenth spot, and this is the hundredth spot. So 55 and 6 hundredths. Now, a common mistake people might have made is they put the 6 here, like this, and a 0. This would be different because this would be 55 and 60 hundredths. But they were only asking for 6, so this would be the correct answer. All right. Last two on this page we're going to look at is comparing numbers. And this is the same thing we did previously in 11.3, is that we want to line them up right above each other. So we're going to write 27.5. And again, line them all up nice and clearly, just right above each other like you were going to alphabetize them, except we're looking at numbers. And 8.37. Okay. And then we're going to decide which one is bigger, or are they equal. So I start in the 2s, or in the 10 spot here. I look here and there's nothing in the 10 spot here. So right off the bat, I know that 27 is bigger than 8. So that one makes that one easy, that this is the bigger number. 27 and 5 tenths is bigger than 8 and 37 hundredths. All right, why don't you go ahead and try number 19 on your own. This is a review, so go ahead and try that on your own. All right, so you would have done 5 tenths, and you would have done 26 hundredths. And then I compare, my zeros are the same, and then I go here and I think, oh, well, 5 is much bigger than 2, so my 5 tenths is greater than my 26 hundredths. All right, on this page, we're just looking at the symmetry around the 1. So I want you to kind of look at this and see the patterns. So this 1.0, or 1 over 1, is like $1, okay? I want you to notice that as we get smaller, we've got 1/10, or 10 cents. And if I even get smaller, I've got 1 hundredths, 1 over hundredths, which is the same as 1 penny. 1 penny is 1 out of 100 pennies make up that dollar. And then I could get all the way down to 1 1,000ths, which is 1 over 1,000, which is one little teeny piece of a penny. If I go the other way, if I've got 10 tens, it's 10 over 1, which is the same as a $10 bill. If I've got 100 over 1, which is the same as a $100 bill, and 1,000 is 1,000 over 1, which is the same as a $1,000 bill. So I just want to see the pattern, and that's going to help us as we look at this next question. It says, write the equivalent number of hundredths and thousands for these numbers. So right now I have 2 tenths, and all I have to do is add a 0 on to change it to 2 or 20 hundredths, okay? But these two numbers are really the same thing. All I did is added a 0. It's just the way we say it. So 2 tenths is the same as 20 hundredths. Now, the same thing would go if I made it go to the thousandths place. So I'm going to add the 2, and then I get to add 2 zeros this time. And I can count it. I can go, okay, so this is my tens, hundredths, thousandths. So I have 2/10, 20/100ths, or 200,000ths. And really, they're all the same. Okay, they all equal the exact same thing. So now I want you to go ahead and try this one with 9/10. See if you can figure out what the hundredths would look like and the thousandths would look like. All right, so on this one, if you got 9/100ths, that would be correct. And if you got 9/1000ths, that would be correct. Okay, and again, they're all equal to each other. Even though they look bigger, they're exactly the same. Because if I lined these all up just like we did on the previous page, I would be able to cross off all those extra zeros and it would still be the same. Okay, all right. Lastly, we're just going to look at some bigger numbers, but it's the same thing that we were doing earlier. It says, write a mixed number as a decimal. So just as before, I'm going to go ahead and do my 300ths here. I'm going to write my 3, and there's 2 zeros. So I'm going to go 1, 2, so it's in the hundredth spot there. Remember, tenths, hundredths, and I've got 6. So 6 is my whole number. So 6 and 3/100ths. All right, why don't you go ahead and try this one? All right, so I would write my 4 first, and it's 4,000. So I count my zero, there's 3, so I go 1, 2, 3. So I need to add 2 zeros in there. Then I look at my whole number, which in this case is 41. So that's going to go to the left of my decimal. So we've got 41 and 4,000ths. All right, now we're going to try to write these numbers as mixed numbers. Now it looks hard, but it's really not. So again, I know my whole number is 26, so that's going to be my whole number. And then I just look at my fractions here, or my, I think of my place value. So I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I know my bottom number is going to be 1,000, and I'm going to write 312 over 1,000. And that's how you would write that decimal into a mixed number. All right, go ahead and try number 36 on your own. All right, let's see how you did. So I know I have a 3 as my whole number. And I know that this is the tenths and this is the hundredths. So I'm going to put 88 at the top. And since it goes to the hundredths, my bottom number is going to be 100. All right. Then let's go down here and we're going to compare again. Now, these are starting to get more tricky. So again, the trick is to line them up very carefully and do your comparison. All right. And I have a couple different ones here. I'm going to try this one and this one. We'll do these together. So 23.1. Again, I'm going to line them up real carefully, and 20.6. All right. And some people are jumping right away. Mrs. Naslund, I know. But let's just double check. Okay. If I look at the 2's, they're the same. But now I go to the 1's place, and 3 is bigger than 0. So I know that 23 and 1/10 is bigger than 20.8 tenths. All right. How about this one? This is a tricky one, and this is where it gets more tricky if you're not writing them out. So this is when it becomes really, really important to write those numbers out. So let's look at number 43 there. It'll let me. Let's write it out. So we have 0.105 and 0.150. Okay, again, we start on the left. We look for all the things that are the same. So the zeros are the same? Nope. Ones are the same? But when I get to, the tens are the same. Tenths are the same. When I get to the hundredths, I write, oh, 5 is bigger. So I know that 150 thousandths is greater than 105 thousandths. All right, great work today. We worked on relating whole numbers to decimals. We reviewed some of those fraction skills that helped us.